Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today I want to make a kind of follow-up video to my first video, talking about why I'm going to collect an Astra Militarum army. I hope you enjoy it. So why the Astra Militarum? My history with the Astra Militarum starts back in 1998. I was in school, fresh into the hobby, and I'd just bought what might have been my first copy of White Dwarf from my local bookshop. I was into Warhammer Fantasy at the time, now called the Old World. Do people still call it Warhammer Fantasy? Let me know. I collected the Lizard Men at the time, and I wasn't really that interested in 40k because none of my friends played it. I know, right? But reading through this issue of White Dwarf, I saw amazing artwork of Space Marines, Tyranids and Eldar, and I was curious. 40k's art has always reminded me of heavy metal album covers. Then I got to the battle report and I saw two armies, set in what looked like an oil refinery, very low tech and dirty for a sci-fi setting, I thought, but that's an element of 40k I like. One of the armies was the Orcs, who I already knew from the fantasy setting, but the other was new. The models were strikingly painted in red, resembling 1900s British Army redcoats, in all manner of interesting poses. Teenage me thought, humans who aren't Space Marines? Cool. I kept reading. Who were these guys? These were the Astra Militarum, or the Imperial Guard. This particular unit was the Praetorian Guard. Looking like something straight out of the Napoleonic Wars, I was fascinated. I liked the idea that there were also normal humans who could fight just as hard as genetically enhanced Space Marines in this universe. I never did end up getting into 40k before me and my friends inevitably drifted on to the next thing, leaving Games Workshop behind. But now, years later, most of us have returned to the hobby in varying capacities. Last year, when I decided to pull the trigger, this memory resurfaced, and I knew this was my chance to finally collect the Astra Militarum. If you watched my first video on this channel, you'll know that I bought a Rogel Dawn recently, which I've been slowly building. But I've also been reading up on and watching lots of lore videos on YouTube. Although this is kind of something I never stopped doing, even when I wasn't actively into Warhammer. Every now and again I'd watch videos from YouTubers both big and small, because I like the sci-fi setting of 40k. It's quite unique and it's different to other sci-fi universes that I enjoy. The stories around the Astra Militarum are especially cool to me. I like that they feel like something that could exist in our world, and at the same time they still have some crazy sci-fi aspects to them. Like I've said before, I like tanks, and the Imperial Guard have a lot of tanks. From the Baneblade to the Leman Russ to the Centaur, there's a tank for all your needs. I also really feel that the Imperial Guard give perspective to the setting and help make it somewhat believable. These guys are mostly regular soldiers in a crazy galaxy, fighting unimaginable horrors and dying in the millions, which I think is something of a parody of the mindset of the First World War, and us British people love to talk about the First World War. Another thing I like about the Imperial Guard is that despite seemingly endless and catastrophic losses on the battlefield, they never lose hope. Although a few commissars pointing guns at you, pushing you forward might help with that. Certainly a way to motivate your men and women. Cadia stands, being the battle cry of the Cadians who lost their homeworld of Cadia in the 13th Black Crusade, which, if you know, is a significant event in the 40k timeline. Maybe I'll make a video about it at some point. Like I alluded to earlier, they also make something like the Space Marines seem even more impressive, revering them as angels. But truth be told, in the 40k universe, if you see the Adeptus Astartes, then it's likely things are going to hell, and you're probably not long for this world. So for now, that's a brief overview of why I'm going with the Astra Militarum for the time being. There are other armies I want to collect, but we'll get into them in another video. Now I want to move on and talk about my plans for my army. Please keep in mind I'm not experienced with this at all, so if you think there are things that might work better, please let me know. I'm open to any tips you might have, and I'm always open to buying more minis. So, with that being said, let's get into the second part of this video, which is building my army. Currently, I'm aiming to build a 1000 point army, which is going to centre around my Rogel Dawn at its core. Simply because I already have one, and it's cool. The Dawn will be supported by important buff units and some low-cost infantry to hold the line. Tank Commander, 220 points. I've chosen this as the leader of my mechanised division. Armed with a Grand Strategist enhancement, this unit is essential for issuing critical orders directly to my other tanks across the field. Rogel Dawn Battle Tank, 260 points. This is what my whole army revolves around. It features extreme toughness and a massive volume of high damage shots, making it virtually unkillable for most opponents at this game size. They'll probably just have to try and weather the storm than actually defeat it. Lehman Russ Exterminator, 180 points. This is here because A, it's iconic, and B, for its support abilities. When its autocannons hit a target, it applies an army-wide armor shredding debuff, increasing the armor penetration of every other tank shooting at that enemy. Very useful. 20 Death Corps of Krieg, 130 points. Basically my massive central meat shield. They can regenerate dead models every turn, making them the ultimate roadblock to hold objectives and stop enemy melee troops from charging my tanks. Bogging them down essentially. 10 Cadian Shock Troops, 60 points. Chosen as a cheap, efficient backline utility squad, they'll use their sticky objective rule to capture home points and then move away to screen out any enemy teleporters from my deployment zone. Scout Sentinel, 60 points. I want its recon buffs. I think they're vital to having success. Its ability allows it to mark a priority target, so my entire gun line can re-roll hits of 1 and completely ignore the penalties for shooting indirect fire. Ursula Creed, 55 points. My force multiplier who will camp behind cover. She can give my infantry extra orders and allow me to use powerful tactical stratagems like, for example, Fields of Fire, completely for free once per round. So that's my core army, totaling in at around 965 points. So after I hit 1000 points, I have a plan to upgrade to 1500 points, expanding the core army into an armoured company. And I think I'm going to add these 4 specific units, totaling about 520 points to my forces. A Lehman Russ battle tank, 175 points. Can never have too many of these. I'm going with this for its 48-inch range, which is amazing and great at objective clearing. It gains full hit rerolls against enemies holding objectives, which will allow me to consistently clear out opponents from vital positions from a safe distance. Sounds almost Tau-like. Moving on. Lehman Russ Vanquisher, 145 points. Another Russ to act as a dedicated anti-tank sniper. With its massive single-shot cannon, I can attempt to force my opponents to keep their biggest monsters and heavy vehicles hidden for fear of them being picked off. Hellhound, 115 points. Fire is always useful. I've chosen this for its aggressive utility as a flame tank. Its Inferno cannon automatically hits targets and completely strips away their cover bonuses, which can expose hidden enemies so my big guns can easily finish them off. And lastly, Regimental Engine Seer, 45 points. This guy's only job will be to act as a mechanic for my Rogel Dawn. Walking right behind it, he can heal its lost wounds and grant it a +4 invulnerable save every single turn. Praise the Omnisire. So, that's my armoured company, and its combined total points is 1,485, give or take, out of 1,500 points. And with that, we've reached the end of the video. What do you think? Is there anything you'd change? If you have any recommendations, please let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like and a subscribe if you think I deserved it to keep up with my Warhammer adventures. Thanks for watching, take care, and remember, the Emperor protects.